Wolf warrior princess held for years in terrified captivity, trembles in fear until man's savior arrive. The cell reeked of ammonia and fear. Orla pressed herself against the far corner, her elongated limbs folded awkwardly beneath her gray-furred body. The fluorescent lights above buzzed incessantly, a sound that had become the rhythm of her existence for the past 4 cycles. Her large amber eyes tracked every shadow that passed beyond the reinforced glass, her pointed ears flat against her skull. She was Orla of the Lupara, once a warrior princess of the northern packs, now reduced to specimen 7 Alpha in the collective's research facility. The scars beneath her fur told stories she wished she could forget. Stories of testing, of pain, of her captors' cold efficiency as they catalogued every aspect of her species' biology. The collective were methodical beings, insectoid creatures whose chitinous bodies clicked and scraped as they moved through sterile corridors. They saw the universe as a puzzle to be solved, every species a data point to be analyzed. To them, Orla's people were simply another entry in their vast repository of knowledge. That her kind valued honor, family, and freedom meant nothing to creatures who communicated through pheromones and existed in a rigid hierarchy devoid of individual identity. Today marked another round of tests. Orla's body trembled involuntarily as the door mechanism hissed. She had long since abandoned any pretense of dignity or resistance. The collective had broken something fundamental in her spirit, that fierce pride that once drove her to lead hunting parties across the frozen plains of her homeworld. But the figure that entered was not one of her usual tormentors. Lewis stepped through the doorway, his boots making soft thuds against the metal floor. He was human, though Orla had no context for what that meant. She had never seen a creature quite like him, bipedal like her captors, but with soft skin, strange fabric coverings, and most striking of all, eyes that held something she hadn't seen in years. Compassion. "Easy there," Lewis said, his voice low and steady. He raised both hands, palms forward, in a gesture of peace. "I'm not here to hurt you." Orla's lips curled back, revealing elongated canines, but the gesture was more defensive than threatening. Her entire body shook as Lewis slowly crouched down, making himself smaller, less imposing. "My name is Lewis. I'm with the Human Expeditionary Fleet. We received a distress beacon from your homeworld 3 months ago." He paused, watching her carefully. "We've been dismantling collective facilities across this sector. You're not the first we've found." The words meant little to Orla. She understood the galactic common tongue, but hope was a language she had forgotten how to speak. Lewis reached slowly into his jacket, and Orla flinched violently, pressing herself harder against the wall. He froze immediately. "Just water," he said, producing a clear container. He placed it on the floor between them and slid it gently toward her. "And these." Small packages followed, ration bars, their wrapping printed with symbols she didn't recognize. Orla stared at the offerings, her mind struggling to process an act of kindness. It had to be a trick. Another test. Another way to measure her responses, to see how hope might affect her biochemistry. "The collective is gone from this station," Lewis continued, settling into a sitting position despite the discomfort it clearly caused him on the cold metal floor. "My team cleared the facility 2 hours ago. You're safe now." "Safe." The word echoed in Orla's mind like a half-remembered dream. "I know you're scared," Lewis said, and something in his tone made Orla's ears twitch forward slightly. "I know what they did to you." "We found the records," his jaw clenched. "What they did. What the collective does to sentient beings. That's why we're here. That's why humanity fights." For the first time in 4 cycles, Orla felt something other than fear. It was small, fragile, barely more than a spark, but it was there, curiosity. Lewis noticed the shift. "We're taking survivors to a medical ship. Real doctors, not researchers. They'll help you heal." He paused. "And then if you want, we'll take you home." Home. The word hit Orla like a physical force. Images flooded her mind. Snow-covered mountains, the howl of her pack echoing through pine forests, the weight of her ceremonial armor, her mother's proud smile. A sound escaped her throat, something between a whimper and a sob. Lewis didn't move, didn't try to approach. He simply waited, letting her process emotions she had locked away to survive. "Take your time," he said softly. "I'll wait here as long as you need. No more rushing, no more tests, no more fear. That part of your life is over." Slowly, shakily, Orla reached forward. Her clawed hand trembled as it extended toward the water container. Lewis remained perfectly still, barely breathing as her fingers closed around it. She brought it to her lips and drank, the clean water washing away the bitter taste of captivity. When she lowered the container, she found the courage to look directly at Lewis. Really look at him. His eyes were blue like the sky of her homeworld, and in them she saw no calculation, no clinical detachment. She saw only a fierce determination and an unexpected gentleness. Why? The word came out as barely more than a rasp, her voice unused for so long. Lewis understood the question behind the question. Why help? Why fight? Why care about a stranger from a species he'd never encountered before? He smiled, and it transformed his face. Because that's what humans do. We see someone in a cage, we break them out. We see tyranny, we fight it. We see someone suffering, we help. He stood slowly, offering his hand. And because no one deserves what they did to you. Orla stared at that outstretched hand for a long moment. Then, with movement still uncertain and afraid, she reached out and took it. Lewis's grip was warm, solid, and steady. As he helped her to her feet, Orla felt something she thought had died forever in the cold cells of the collective. She felt hope. And for the first time in 4 cycles, the wolf warrior princess of the Northern Pack stood tall,